Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessed Sabbath day. We thank you for the sun that's shining, Father, not only outside, but in our hearts as well as we continue on this journey, Father, bound for the promised land. We thank you and praise you, Father, for having called us on this journey and for whatever it is that has caused us to respond, Father, to this journey when we know that the ties of the world, for some of us, and probably all of us, were at one time, that's all we knew. And so, to me, personally, it seems like a miracle to even be here, and I am so thankful. And I just pray, Father, for each and every one of us that we would continue to stay on this journey every step of the way, come what may. And that, Father, you would so transform us into your image, and that our only ambition would be to reveal your image, your character, and to enlarge the kingdom of heaven. That we would have our eyes fixed on heavenly things, that we would see the travail of our souls, Father, that we would see the redeemed in heaven, Father, that as a result of our determination and the time that we give to you rather than this world, Father, that every bit of time could result in another soul saved. So it is just a blessing and a privilege to be a part of this. And I pray by your strength, Father, and by your grace and your mercy that we would continue to press on towards the goal of this high calling. We pray as we enter into our last study of the day for your presence to be with us as we grapple with the last verses of 2 Samuel 22 and trying to better understand parables and the methodology, Father, not just understanding. I think a lot of us have a good understanding of it, but in using the tools and making right applications, Father, that your word would continue to open up to us, Father, in ways we've never seen before, and do the work of preparation upon our hearts and understanding this message and a love for souls and being prepared to take it out to the Levites and then to the world. So we thank you, Lord, and we praise you for being with us, and we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, I'm going to need everybody's help in this one. Define the study. Okay, you can probably all see it, right? Bigger? Bigger? Is that good enough? Okay. So we're going to jump down. Actually, what I kind of wanted to do again, since for some of us, it's been 2 weeks since we looked at this, and it might seem tedious, but I kind of like to read the chapter again. Do you guys mind?
I don't mind.
If we read the chapter from the beginning again? So it'd be easier if you had your Bibles, if you wanted to do it that way, than on the screen, because we have all the notes intermingled. So, but as we go through it, think on the things that we're learning, and understanding that it's David singing a song of deliverance, a psalm of thanksgiving, and a song of deliverance, the song that he sings, that is a song reflecting his journeys, the battles, the victories, but his journey and how that applies to us in our day. So I'll start, and then maybe somebody else pick up when I stop, and somebody else go a little further. And David spake unto the Lord the words of this song. So we know it's a song because the Bible's telling us it's a song. In the day that the Lord had delivered him out of the hand of all his enemies and out of the hand of Saul. And he said, the Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, the God of my rock, in him will I trust. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my high tower and my refuge, my Savior. Thou savest me from violence. I will call on the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies. When the waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried to my God, and he did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter his ears.
Oh,
Verse 8.
then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of heaven moved and shook because he was wroth. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. Fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also and came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub and did fly, and he was seen upon the wings of the wind. And where do I stop?
Go as far as you want.
Oh. And he made darkness pavilions round about him, dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. Through the brightness before him were coals of fire kindled. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice. And he sent out arrows and scattered them, lightning and discomfited them. And the channels of the sea appeared. The foundations of the world were discovered at the rebuking of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. Who's next? Okay.
Can I say something?
I think it's two. Go ahead, sister.
Were you talking?
Yeah,
Whoa, there's like 3 people.
yeah, there's Anna. She just made a mention that there's a strange man sitting on her. Did you hear me?
No, we did not hear you.
Let me read the chat. Sister Anna's saying there's a strange man sitting on her front porch. We should pray for her safety.
Yes.
She needs to call the police.
Yeah.
Allie, go ahead. Allie, say a prayer and we'll go on.
Yeah, okay. Let's pray quick. Dear Father in heaven, we want to thank you for every mercy. I know the enemy wants to disturb us and interfere with our study, but we won't let him. We ask you in the name of Jesus to rebuke him and his evil intentions and protect Sister Anna in her home. She has a lot of stress, and we just ask that you give her peace of comfort. Her porch leaves immediately and never returns. Keep her safe. I don't know if she's alone in her home, but we all pray that you will protect her and keep her safe. We thank you for answering this prayer in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Sister Christina says call the police.
And so we'll go ahead and keep reading. It'd probably be a good idea. Police at least to check it out if they need to.
Who's calling for her?
Okay, so who was going to read next? Was somebody going to read next?
Where'd you leave off? 16?
17.
Start at 17.
Yeah, 17.
He sent me from above. He took me. He drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy and from them that hated me, for they were too strong for me. He prevented me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my stay. He brought me forth also into a large place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanliness of my hands, hath these accomplished me. For I have kept the ways of the Lord, and have not wickedly departed from my God. For all his judgments were before me, and as for his statutes, I did not depart from them. I was also upright before him, and have kept myself from mine iniquity. Therefore the Lord hath recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanliness in his eyesight. With the merciful thou wilt show thyself merciful, and with the upright man thou wilt show thyself upright. With the pure thou shalt show thyself pure, and with the forward thou wilt show thyself unsavory. And the afflicted people thou wilt save, but thine eyes are upon the haughty, that thou mayest bring them down. Somebody else?
So, I know I said read the whole thing, but I was just, that verse always gets to me, the haughty, because we talked about the haughty tyrant. She refers to,
Right.
Ellen White refers to Pharaoh as that haughty tyrant, and I just think about that, the haughty, because that's literally what we're seeing in the impeachment trial.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so somebody want to pick up at verse 29?
Yeah, I'll read on. Okay. For thou art my lamp, O Lord, and the Lord, O Lord, and the Lord will lighten my darkness. For by thee I have run through the troop, by my God have I leaped over a wall. As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is tried. He is a buckler to all them that trust in him. For who is God, save the Lord? And who is a rock, save our God? God is my strength and power, and he maketh my way perfect. He maketh my feet like hinds' feet, and setteth me upon my high places. He teaches my hands to war, so that a bow of steel is broken by mine arms. Thou hast also given me a shield of thy salvation, and thy gentleness has made me great. Thou hast enlarged my steps under me, so that my feet did not slip. I have pursued mine enemies, and destroyed them, and turned not again until I had consumed them. I have consumed them and wounded them, that they could not arise. Yea, they are fallen under my feet. For thou hast girded me with strength for battle. Them that rose up against me hast thou subdued under me. Somebody else like to continue on?
I will read. Thou hast also given me the necks of mine enemies, that I might destroy them that hate me. They looked, but there was none to save, even unto the Lord, but he answered them not. Then did I beat them as small as the dust of the earth. I did stamp them as the mire of the street, and did spread them abroad. Thou also hast delivered me from the strivings of my people. Thou hast kept me to be head of the heathen. A people which I knew not shall serve me. Strangers shall submit themselves unto me. As soon as they hear, they shall be obedient unto me. Strangers shall fade away, and they shall be afraid of their close places. The Lord liveth, and blessed be my rock, and exalted be the God of the rock of my salvation. It is God that avengeth me, and that bringeth down the people under me, and that bringeth me forth from mine enemies. Thou also hast lifted me up on high above them that rose up against me. Thou hast delivered me from the violent man. Therefore I will give thanks unto thee, O Lord, among the heathen, and I will sing praises unto thy name. He is the tower of salvation for his king, and showeth mercy to his anointed, unto David, and to his seed forevermore.
Thank you. I thought it was good to review it. And so it sounds like everything's okay where Anna and that things worked out good. Let me figure out where we were at. Verse 36, that's what I thought when we were reading through that. Verse 36, I had marked as February 1. So thou hast given me the shield of thy salvation. Sorry, let me move the notes for you, right? I'm looking at the paper. Sorry about that. $36, okay. So thou hast given me the shield of thy salvation. And I think they can't hear us again for a second here.
Hmm?
Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Hello? Can you guys hear us?
Maybe see the chat. Oh,
Can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you-
Yeah.
Okay.
We can.
Okay. So I just had that warning come up, say that the internet was unstable again. Okay. Are you gonna watch the chat or somebody? Because I can't keep it up here. Make the screen so large. Okay. So thou hast given me the shield.
Oh, hold on. Allison is saying, "What's on your screen, sister?"
Oh, if I put the chat up, because you guys want me to put the file, make it large.
Allison.
It was Sister Moroni. She's saying there's something else on her screen. I'm just asking her.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I should have read further back. That's my bad. Ollie, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so thou hast given me we must have something good we're gonna learn here today. Right? Thou hast given me the shield of thy salvation, and thy gentleness hath made me great. So what did he give David?
gentleness.
Yeah. You saw that too?
No, I just heard it.
That's what it says.
Yeah. What it says is, thou hast given me the shield of thy salvation. So you're looking at the repeat and enlarge. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Right?
Usually I read like that, so I don't even have to. Sorry.
Because it says he gave him the shield of thy salvation. And then he does a repeat and enlarge, and he tells us what that shield is. So go ahead, give us your thoughts.
He also given me the shield. Did he save him through shielding him and through being gentle towards him, or is it saying that he was given a
Where
shield
are
to
we?
protect
Oh,
himself
36.
and he was given gentleness to save himself,
Well,
to make himself?
I don't remember which verse it was, but we went through shield a while back as well.
That's not, I know, but that's not the, I'm saying, in what sense is he saying thou hast given me? It's like, is it like, did he shield him and protect him? Was he gentle towards him, or did he give him a shield and give him the ability to be gentle?
Well, shield of salvation sounds like some kind of gentleness to me.
Well,
Because it's not, thou hast given me gentleness. It says, your gentleness
Right.
made me great.
right, but what did he give him? He gave him the shield of his salvation.
Yeah, and
isn't he defining what that shield is?
Yeah, it's the gentleness. That's what I'm getting. That's
So he
what I
gave
get.
him, because we were talking about this earlier, not in the context of this verse, but being good to your enemies, right? Being good to people, and how that actually wins people over. What is it they say? You catch more bees with honey, right? So when you're being kind to people that wrong you, anyways, he gives us a gentleness. He gives us his character.
I like that. You catch more bees with honey.
And it's his gentleness that makes us great. So that's what I thought it was. I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts on it. Sounds like Adriana does. Maybe she'll.
I thought it was what you thought at the beginning too. It's just that I'm confused because when it says, and thy gentleness, it's talking about your gentleness, not my gentleness.
And thy, as in God's gentleness.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Because
Gentleness.
Because God gave David his gentleness.
He was gentle towards him.
So are you
That's why it's
saying that the shield and salvation is this gentleness that
Yes.
Well, that's what I see. That's what I understand.
That's what I'm understanding too. I don't know if it's correct, but that's what I'm understanding, that the shield that he gives him, the shield of his salvation that he gives him, is his gentleness. And it's his gentleness that makes him great. Because now he has his character, and he has God's, David now has God's gentleness. And it's that gentleness that God gave him,
What the verse is that?
36, that makes him great.
That's Sister Maroni's.
Anybody else?
Is the shield of thy salvation
We got a terrible problem with the internet today.
and thy gentleness. So I'm kind of wondering about that, and would imply in addition. So I don't know if it's the same thing. I'm not sure.
No, they're not the same.
We have a
Yeah.
challenge on the internet today.
That's what I would think too, Donna, but it's a colon there, which makes it seem like it's a repeat and enlarged, but that's what it's confusing, because the shield, the salvation itself is the shield. It's saying the shield of thy salvation. So salvation is the subject of it, and shield is like a way to describe salvation, right? And then thy gentleness is next over, but it sounded like, you know, a separate subject, but because we use our parable teaching, it seems like it would be a repeat and enlarged there.
I didn't understand what she was saying. Just
She was
FYI.
saying that shield and salvation are one thing, and then because it says the word and thy gentleness, it's saying it's listing gentleness as another topic, as an addition to.
Yeah. I think the colon makes it a repeat and large. Just FYI, because the internet kind of keeps fading when you guys talk. What takes you maybe 20 seconds to say seems to take 40 seconds, and I was having a hard time with it. It's not your fault, but it's something in the internet on our end, I think. So I don't know, but that's the way I marked it. And I also had marked in my notes, but I don't know that this is correct, because what he gives us is what makes us. And I didn't have that drawn on this part, but I had on my own papers that I was been jotting down notes on. What he gives us is what makes us great. But I'm pretty sure it's a repeat and enlarge, but always open for discussion, because all of us are practicing and learning. And I know we went through the shield of salvation, but it is his character that is going to what is that's the ultimate goal, is to have his character, to have the mind of Christ, and to be a partaker of the divine nature. Any other thoughts in that verse?
The shield and the armor of God is the faith, right?
I think so. We'd have to look at that.
The shield of faith.
Ephesians 6. Shield is what?
A shield is a protector,
Yeah.
and the salvation is liberty, deliverance, prosperity, safety, salvation, saving.
The shield of faith, yeah.
That
Verse
does
16.
sound like it. Yeah, it more I'm looking at it, does look like that's what it is.
In verse 16, Ephesians 6:16, it is the shield of faith. wherewith
So
you
the
should be able
shield is
to quench all the
gentleness.
fiery darts of the wicked. So the shield of faith is,
Wait, read Ephesians 6 again.
above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked.
Didn't it talk about that earlier in this?
Yeah, I think so. Not darts.
No, but arrows.
Arrows, but arrows were him, not, those weren't the arrows from the enemy. Those were the arrows of truth, I believe.
Christine wrote in the chat, Proverbs 15:1, a soft answer tuneth away wrath,
Yeah.
but grievous words stir up anger.
Yep. So it's kindness. His gentleness, his kindness is
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is a shield.
yeah, that looks like, well, that makes sense.
In the eastward, under the gentleness, it says humility, meekness.
What? Humility and meekness?
Yeah.
Gentleness is humility and meekness in eastward. Anything else for that verse before we go?
Robert, why don't you open eSword and try to follow along in there with us on that?
I was just looking up and see what Ellen White says on this verse.
Uh-huh. Try that eSword.
Okay.
We just got it all set up for you.
And I'm going to go in there too. I wasn't there yet. 22. Verse 36, right?
Mm-hmm.
And shield was along the lines of buckler. Yeah, because I think I'd already looked that up. And buckler was in a previous verse. We just kind of looked at that. I don't remember which one, but it's verse 31. As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is tried. He is a buckler to all them that trust in him. So shield and buckler, when you look at eSword, it's the same word. A protector. And I think we went through that verse as well. A protector. Defender, ruler. So he's a shield. And so verse 36. So I think that's what that, yeah, I forgot about that. So if a shield, if a buckler is a shield, and I don't know, let me just, as I bounce this off and you guys tell me if this is right or wrong, but thou hast also given me the protection. You're the protector of my salvation. Anybody? That he's the protector of our salvation.
What about him being the protector of our salvation?
Well, I'm just
How is
using
that relating to what?
the shield of thy salvation. And
Right.
a shield is a buckler. A buckler and a shield are a protector.
Right.
What's the
something
buckler
that's-
in the armor of God?
Huh?
The
A buckler isn't in there. I don't think a buckler is in these verses.
Is the buckler a shield or is it a belt? Is it the same thing as a?
No. The belt is actually in there. It's different.
Why don't I always had buckler in my mind as a belt.
Whole armor of
Buckler,
God.
not
Let's see.
buckler.
No, it's buckler.
Have your loins girt about with the truth. The girt, I think, would be linked to the belt. When
Yeah.
you girt, yeah, that's the belt. The girding, that's the belt of truth. Having the breastplate of righteousness. Your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Well, that would kind of go into that too, because your gospel of peace is going to be gentleness as well too, right? But and above all, taking the shield of faith. And then you've got the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit.
So a buckler is a small round shield held by a handler or worn on the forearm. Not the same with the
So if
buckler.
it's still something that you hold in front of you to protect you, then that's what God is to us, right?
Yeah, it's a
He's
shield.
in front of us to protect us. He's a shield. But it's interesting that what he's a shield of, he's a shield of our salvation.
So he's protecting our salvation.
Sister Christine says, we just prayed in quiet faith for the protection of Anna and the stranger went away. We get his gentle faith, and he protects us. Oh, and he protects.
That's exactly what he did.
Amen.
He's my protector too, especially from strange men sitting on my front porch.
No,
He is
we
gone.
get experiences while we learn.
Yes.
So he's the shield, or the thing that is in front of us. A shield is, I'm thinking, not God as a thing, but a shield is an object that you would hold in front of you or to the side of you, or however you would have a shield all around you. However, you'd have this shield of your salvation. So he's the protector of our salvation. And then he goes on to say that it's his gentleness is what makes us great. So I think it's a repeat and enlarge, though, saying that the shield of his salvation is his gentleness, because his gentleness is going to reflect his character, and it's his character that makes us great.
That makes sense.
Don't know if there's more to that, and if not, then for now anyways, we can go to the next verse.
Okay.
You want to read it? 37?
Yeah. Thou hast enlarged my steps under me, so that my feet did not slip.
So what are your
Amen.
steps? What do steps represent?
Feet.
Yeah, so you're basically talking about your feet. What do your feet represent?
The gospel.
The gospel. So what did he enlarge?
The gospel.
He enlarged.
Amen. And he didn't. He enlarged the gospel, and therefore he did not slip. Amen.
Yep. So he continues to enlarge the gospel to us, and the more he gives us, the stronger we are. And he does so. He enlarged my steps. He enlarged the gospel underneath where when I walk, he enlarged my steps so that I am secure in the gospel, that my feet do not slip. He gives us his message, and he's been pouring out his message and his light, making us stronger and stronger and stronger. And he's preparing us that our feet not slip, so that when we come to these great tests, that we would be able to withstand, as we saw in Ephesians, the fiery darts of the enemy, of the wicked. That because we like to think of maybe I'm speaking for myself, but we might like to think of the fiery darts as some, terrible evil thing. But we might be face to face with a pastor who challenging us on the truth that we know. And this is my experience anyway. When we get challenged on the message, Satan knows what we know and what we don't know. So when somebody's challenging us, Satan knows is just exactly where to get you, because he knows your weak spot. He knows what you're weak on. He knows what you've studied, and he knows what you haven't yet studied. And so I've had plenty of experiences where they've come to me and presented some verse or some spirit prophecy statement that I've probably read but don't understand. And but that's where you need the shield of faith, because when Satan throws something at you that you don't yet understand, the shield of faith in that which you do understand will help you to stand strong as well. But he continues to enlarge the gospel for us. In other words, enlarging our steps, enlarging the gospel, so that if our feet represent the gospel, that we don't slip in that gospel. We don't slip when Satan comes and throws something at us that we don't know yet. And I don't know if anybody else attests to that experience, that you get challenged on something you don't understand, and then you wind up kind of having some doubt and having to go. To me, it's always caused me to run and go study the very thing they brought up. I don't know who the noise is. I think it might be Marioni. Marioni, I'm going to have to, I think it might be you or Anna I have to mute. Or you guys can mute if you want. Otherwise, I'll do it because there's some background noise. But turn it on when you want to talk. That's okay. But there's a bunch of background noise that's coming in. But feel free to turn it on when you want to say something. And if we don't catch it, we got a couple people monitoring the chat. So Satan will come at us, like I said, with something that we don't understand. I was trying to think of an example of what it was, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. But I do remember that day and I remember it always being impressed on me that you talk to him two times. 2 times you go talk to a heretic, and that's in Titus, I think it is. Talk to a heretic. Is it Titus? Yeah. And then you turn away or something like that. And I remember that. Huh? What? And they become an anathema. Yeah. And I always remember that sticking in my head. And then there's Spirit Prophecy quotes that I've read too that talks about not engaging with them and not doing dialogue with Satan and not and only taking 2 times to talk with them. And then I remember this one specifically, and I brought it up before because the pastor came out to me. We had already had 2 times where we sat down and talked, where at his request, we sat down and talked. We agreed to disagree and parted ways, and I still stayed where I was at, and he still did what he did. And but that 3rd time, we were walking out of a Bible study in the afternoon, and he started, he brought up the 25-20. I don't remember what he brought up, but different things that I didn't yet know. And I remember walking away, actually, in a split second, entertaining doubts because I was like, yeah, what about that? You
Gotta be careful.
And then I walked away and I literally shook my head, like shake it off, shake your head, and said, no. But then there's this, and this. I'll just go home and study what he said. So in a way, Satan helps us to go home if we're willing. He's helped us to go home and study so that we're better armed next time. So our continuous study enlarges our steps. It's God that does it. He gives us the shield of his salvation. He's our protector. It's his gentleness, and in the gospel is enlarging our walk. We're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I know I had a comment in here. Oh, the strength of the message conquers the enemies. You've got rain coming, thunder, and the voice of the Lord, which is creating 2 classes of people. And this is going on internal and external. We can see it with what is happening just watching the impeachment process. And we saw this in some of the previous verses in this chapter that at least that's how I understood it to be. I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but that's how I understood some of these verses that we went through in this chapter that suggests that they're getting this rain and thunder. We understand it always tells us that the voice of the Lord, it's the thunder is the voice of the Lord. So, so there's an internal and an external message going on at the same time. They're not getting the internal message. The internal message is helping us to be able to actually see this external message. Question: how many of us would understand what we understand today? I don't know why I asked the question. If we didn't understand the parables the way that we do, would we be able to see what's happening as we're watching the impeachment trial? Would we be able to see that God is pleading with people and drawing people out to 2 different classes? You know what I mean? If we didn't understand, if we didn't have a light on the parables that we do. Did that make sense the way I said that? You understood what I said?
Mm-hmm.
No comment? Anybody? No?
No, you could see it. Adam Schiff, the stuff he says, man, I mean, it should hit right at your heart and should, should show you that God is, I mean, every last possible argument of love and common sense.
Yeah.
And then you have the lawyers come in and twist and twist and twist. It's like, this should be the easiest choice you've ever made.
Exactly. And we're privileged to actually be aware of it as it's happening. And impressive how he even talks to them. They've even warned them about, you're going to have to live with this decision because the truth is going to all come out. You can suppress it now, but the truth is going to come out.
You can tell which side is right because every single yearning that Schiff has said is like, think about what you're doing to the future. Think about what's going to happen because of this decision. Why aren't you thinking about this? Because you're going to destroy everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's insane. And then you'll see the lawyers take that argument and twist that same thing. It's like Satan is learning from God's people what to use. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it would be a super easy choice if it was plain on its face the way it is, but because of the two streams and the messed up information war that's happening,
Yeah.
man, it's a mess.
I do want to say something that I touched on before. How important it is to be very prayerful of how we speak, what we share on social media. They can come into our lives, and obviously from the previous study, they have everything on us. They know that sarcastic email that I sent to the pastor that wasn't meant for him. They know all of it, okay? That was a long time ago for anybody that didn't know that story. That was a long time ago. But they know all those things. And all those things are going to come back. We have to be prepared, because we need to demonstrate salvation. We need to be able to demonstrate that our character has been changed, that we have been given his gentleness. And we have to think about what his gentleness looks like. If we're on Facebook, for instance, and we're posting this or that or whatever, are we representing his gentleness? Because when they come back to us and say, you know, you did this 10 years ago, you did this, this, and this, and you said this, and you said that, do we look different today than we looked then? And that's that gentleness that we need. Okay, so verse 38. Allie, would you like to read verse 38? I muted you too, by the way. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hang on a sec. We're at 38. I have pursued mine enemies and destroyed them, and turned not again until I had consumed them.
So I have nothing on that. I don't know if it was, I didn't get to that or what have you, but if somebody wants to comment.
I wanted to comment on what somebody might have on us for like 10 years ago. It's another good reason to make sure that if anybody has anything against us, that we deal with it at the present.
Amen.
And talk otherwise, because we don't want people to hold things against us 10 years ago, and we've changed so much since then, and think of us back in a different light. So we need to take care of things as they happen.
Yeah.
I did that with, and this wasn't anything online that they had. It was just a guilt thing from like back in high school days. That this girl, I found her on Facebook. I just want to apologize for this argument we had back in the day. I was like, I can't leave. It was something that weighed on my conscience forever. You can't let that stuff.
Fix it.
Yeah, and man, it is a wonderful, freeing feeling afterwards. And you just don't look back and you keep going.
It is beyond the freeing feeling. It also has an effect on people. You know, it has a power and effect on people, because that's what we need to be demonstrating, that we have changed, that we do have a changed life. We need to be demonstrating that.
Amen.
And by doing such thing, makes me think of things in my own life.
Do you guys think, for who sees my posts on Facebook, I'm just candidly asking, since it's in the air, do I post bad stuff? Be honest, yes or no, I'm okay with it. I want to know, because I have no clue if I am or not.
I always bring it up for a variety of things that I see, like and it's just me, it's just my thoughts. It doesn't mean I'm right. But different things that I see, and you know, I don't know if Tony's still here with us or not. Yeah, I think she is. Because what I used to always say to Tony, and hopefully I can use you, Tony. I don't know if she's sitting there or not. And there was nothing wrong with what she did. She would always kind of give a testimony, and you know, and speak about, you know, she does it. She speaks things that God does for her, and and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's people that will disagree with some of the things that we say, and when they disagree with things that we say, kind of hits at our pride, does something to us, incites us, or what have you, and pretty soon you're in this argument, and there the devil's won, because he's got you arguing on Facebook. And I'm not saying Tony did. I'm just saying it. So what I used to always say to Tony is, just give them the word. Just give them the word. And then if they have any argument, they got to take it up with God. And so I just think we all need to be praying about it and be careful about it, of what we do say and how it might actually come back and cause us problem. And are we mocking in any way? I will say, and I don't think I've seen you do it, but I don't see everything everybody does on Facebook anyways, but I do see certain things. Some of them might be I always want to say memes because I think that's what you call them, but some people say they're memes. Okay, memes. Like the ones that are mocking.
Mimes.
So I don't know where I get that from. But some of the like cartoon type things or the memes that might be, they come across as mocking or like a one up for the Democrats and you loser, that kind of stuff. And to me, if we all look at Christ as our example, we know that he loves everyone and he wants none to perish. And if he were on Facebook today, would he post anything that would mock or ridicule anyone, even the enemy? And if we use those as our basis and as our guide with prayer, then for us, social media would become a powerful tool, right? And that's all I like to think about it is if media is how, if it's through technology and through media that this message gets spread all around the world, then we're planting seeds now. What seeds are we planting? Are we planting seeds that will grow into fruit? Or are we planting seeds that are gonna, don't know how to say it, that are gonna, wind up getting us into an argument and get us to say something we shouldn't or what have you. So my thing is in general. I don't think I've seen you post memes. I don't know why. I don't know who I heard calling memes, but memes, okay.
Yeah. But talking about guilt, it doesn't even have to be on social media. It could be just in your everyday life. I know the other day I went in to go get a new charger from Best Buy. They didn't have it, and I have to buy it online. But that's besides the point. Then I saw Old Navy. I said, "Oh, let me go in there and see if they have something on sale." I went to the clearance area, and there was this item, and around the item it said $6.99, and it's all clearance. And then so I grabbed this item and I said, okay, and then I go online. I look at the tag and it says a certain price, $39.99. I said, this is the clearance, and it says $6.99. So okay, I took the sticker off and I said, no, this is not worth that price. And then I get up in line and then get to the cashier, and she rings it up, and it comes up as $39.99. And then she's like, and I said, well, it says $6.99 over there in the place where I got it. And then she says, okay, here you go. You can have for that amount. The Lord pricked on my mind, because I was like, well, it was in that section. It had the sign, but then all these thoughts, well, what if somebody just moved it? I was like, but no, it was right there. So the Lord is working on my conscience. And so I was like, man, I probably should go take this back. It's just like, it's not right. Because she just like, okay, there was no fight, no nothing. I was like, but the Holy Spirit was like, I still saw what you did, even if it wasn't that price or whatever, you did what you did. And I called Old Navy back up, and I said, I told them everything that I did, and I said, I will take it back. And she says, no, it's okay. We take care of our customers, you don't. But I was honest with her, and she said, no, just keep it. It's fine. We understand. I totally understand where you're coming from. And then, yeah, that was that. So, and I ended up telling Mom, and she was like, at first, don't do it. Just let it be, whatever. But then after I did it, then she wanted to give me a hug and was like, you did a good thing. So, yeah. But anyway, sorry.
That's okay. But I was thinking also, like with WhatsApp, that we can't be laughing at the things that are happening. And it's hard, I'll tell you that. And I know I admitted to this a few different times from the studies and reading that book. There's times when it's so ridiculous what you're seeing that to me, it'll bring laughter. And I have to remind myself of the times that we're living in.
It's life and death. You can't laugh.
It's life and death.
You know.
And so are we reflecting Christ if we're looking at these things and laughing at them? Because Christ looks at them as souls he died for.
Amen.
And so it's hard for us to, he's bringing us along the way out of our carnal selves. And that's the work he's doing in us. We just have to be able to ask him to help us with those things. And personally, so I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say you do this or you do that or I do this or whatever. It's more so about each individual praying for God to lead us each day and how to use social media, asking him, because we don't always know. It's those buttons on the left, they do that. We don't always know. I don't always know what the right thing is to say or what the right thing is to do. But what we can do each day is surrender ourselves to him and ask him to help us to use the right words, the right things to say to people along the way. And because as well, because it will come back. And what we read earlier about WhatsApp, and then we've found since then that WhatsApp is also corrupted, so to speak. Is that the right word? I don't know if that's the word we use, but compromised, I don't know.
Well, who's going to go on there and start chatting evil things? Like, I don't, what,
Well, I'm not talking about evil things, but if we're laughing about what people are doing, it's going to come back.
Because the people in our groups can picture save it. It doesn't have to be WhatsApp is corrupted. It's the people that are tears that are gonna, it's not even.
Exactly. And it'll be used against us. So, I just, the safe way is to ask the Lord to lead us every single day, keep us from our own selves. And I literally tell the Lord, it's hard sometimes because I read this and I feel bad when I laugh, and yet I read this and I see what is going on, and sometimes it's laughable from my carnal self, but help me out of this carnal self, because I know that these are people that you died for. And then think about Luther. When Luther went to, and I've brought this up so many times, when Luther went to the Diet and he asked for that extra day, he understood, and this is what we need to see the impeachment as. The impeachment is a tool that is being used to plead with the hearts of people in America and people in the world, because the world's watching this. It's a tool that is being used to place people, to cause people to go to one side or the other. So you got the Holy Spirit striving as well for these people. I think we just need to always be mindful of that, but also, like I believe too, we're going to have stuff that comes back to us, and they're going to say, well, look at what you did here and look at what you said here. And if our character is anything short of Christ, then we're going to have to.
You're going to fail.
Yeah, you're going to fail. I was going to say we're going to have to be face to face with that. Would we rather be face to face with our character failure right now and say, Lord, help me? Yep. Or do we want to come up to a pivotal point where there's a room full of people that are going to be swayed one way or the other, and out it comes, and we're not prepared for it? So it's just a matter of thinking of the people. So I didn't want to.
It's so interesting that the 144,000 definitely have a high calling on their life, because they are going to be standing perfect before the Lord, and that includes their character. That includes just what they know, everything, because the message is perfecting a people. And it's just really interesting that that 144,000 group is going to stand with no guile, no defilement, pure, holy people.
So that would be the question. Ask yourself, is laughing at this stuff or mocking this or making them, joking amongst ourselves, is that what the 144,000 ought to be doing?
It depends
what
you're laughing at. But no,
yeah,
it depends what you're laughing at.
With Parminder in the schools, they've laughed too. They have they enjoy studying the Bible, and they say some funny stuff sometimes.
Yeah, laughter is not bad.
No, I'm not saying laughter's bad.
It's the subject you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And are we mocking?
Yeah, exactly. Now that's wrong. Like if you're talking about like those memes and things and what do you call it, the Twitter feed type of stuff, then yeah, some of that stuff, I don't know if people should be laughing
It needs
at.
to be for informational purposes. And,
Yeah.
and not,
Like mocking Trump and calling him an idiot on public social stuff.
yes.
I've done. It's so tempting. I have to be honest. It frustrates me so much, the stuff he does and what he gets away with. I recently said he was an idiot.
Yeah, I did.
Facebook.
Me too.
I'm bad.
No, me too. I'm guilty of it too. That it's hard because you're standing there watching this happen before your very eyes and stunned.
It's because we're not seeing it in literal terms. If you had, while you were watching, someone make a post on Facebook that you think is ridiculous sounding and you laugh at it, really what that person did is they just climbed into a truck that's going to go take them to death. You know what I mean? Would you laugh at that?
Yeah.
If that's what.
Okay, sorry.
See, it's a life and death issue. But if you actually looked at it literally like it's life and death in the moment, like someone has a gun to their head, you wouldn't laugh.
We don't look at it that way.
Yeah, I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the fact that it's like, like, okay, I'm just gonna stop because I wasn't laughing at that, but whatever.
Okay. So she just gave you a visual. Yeah.
I would think that the 144,000 would have more of a serious connotation and a serious.
Yes.
I mean, that's just, I cannot even imagine the 144,000.
I was going to
participating with mockery or gossip or rumors or anything that is untrue.
Exactly. They're only going to be on subject. And I was thinking, and I already opened it up to Isaiah 6 for some reason or other. That's where I wanted to go on this. We're way off topic, but this is where I wanted to go on it, where Isaiah 6, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face. With twain he covered his feet, with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. So the 144,000, I mean, they're going to have this, I don't know if it's a wrong comparison, but they're going to be transformed into this image. They're going to understand. I don't know how to put it into words, but the angels, Ellen White writes that they veil their face before God. And I'm not talking about these enemies being God by no means, but I'm just looking at their behavior. And if you have this burden for souls, and self is and with the nature of man studies, when he's talking about the nature of man, I think it's in that studies probably, where he's talking about what sits on the throne. If the throne is in your heart, right?
Yeah.
What sits on your throne? Are you sitting on your throne, or is Christ sitting on your throne?
Yeah.
Because if you're sitting on your throne, if Christ is sitting on the throne of your heart, we would look at every single soul as a soul to be saved. I'm speaking to myself as well, because I need it. When we watch these things that are taking place, it's very challenging to be so stunned that it brings laughter. That's like, this is amazing to watch this. But he's giving us insight into the prophetic view so that we can have understanding to how he's actually pleading with people. This is a blessing that he's given us this opportunity. But we want to be sure that every action that we take is an action he would take. And if it's an action he would take, then it's him that's sitting on the throne of our heart instead of ourselves. So I speak in generalness mostly. Yeah, I do see it happen. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it. But I wouldn't say who, because I know that I have my own stuff that I have to work on as well. But we need to actually be, it's a goal that we need to work towards, if that makes sense. So, but that's what we need, is we need him on the throne of our heart. And we can't put him there. All we can do is submit to him and ask him to be there. And we have to do so every day. Just like Christ every day had to ask for grace. He asked for grace because grace gave him the power to resist temptation. We have to ask for that same grace. We have to ask and invite him into the throne of our heart every single day. We need to confess that we cannot keep our heart pure, but we can ask him to keep our heart pure for us, and then go about our day from there.
Amen.
So, but we got off topic of this verse, and I don't know that any of us had anything on that verse. I have pursued mine enemies and destroyed them, and turned not again until I had consumed them. I don't know what we have to say about pursuing our enemies.
He went after them.
I know.
Oh.
Did we go after them? Or is that what we do? Is that talking after the Sunday law? We pursue them? I don't know. But he pursued his enemies. He went after them and he destroyed them.
He did, in literal terms. David did do that.
Mm-hmm.
And,
literal terms.
And so, so one thing he's speaking of his experience and what he did. Now, whether or not we're to be doing that, that's a different story.
But the spiritual version of that is you give the message of truth no matter how much the enemy tries to.
Exactly.
It's chasing their evil away with light. It's like light chasing after darkness to destroy it.
Amen.
Yeah.
But isn't this what the rock is doing to the image? It
Yeah.
destroys it?
Amen.
Exactly, but that's with the message, with the light.
Amen.
It's the same thing.
Okay. And we're going to have another verse coming up that talks about destroying too.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
What goes in my mind all the time recently is that we're to love our enemies.
Yes.
And I know God is destroying them in this verse. It seems like that's what he's doing, but I don't have a full, complete narrative to explain it because I don't understand it myself. But other than what we were just talking about minutes ago about not laughing at things because it could be brought back to us, and we have to be a higher standard by being part of the 144,000 and having God's character and really having the perfect answer at the right time every time in due season, basically. But if we love our enemies, it will be the truth that shows them that we love them, because we're not going to be wrathful. We're not going to call them bad names or, go out of our way to argue with them or hurt their feelings. We're just going to love them, and we're going to love them with the message we have. I think, or help them. Like, how else do you love your enemy? You show them you love them by either helping them, giving them your arm of power, your strength, your help, or just turning, or someone, I think it was Christina? She put a quote from Psalms 15:1 here earlier about a soft answer turneth away wrath, but a grievous word stirs up anger. So I'm thinking we're just going to have these kind of goodness things towards our enemy, and they'll probably always be our enemy anyways, right? Maybe, or maybe not. I have no idea. I think of the people who've just left the movement. God gave me a dream about Jeff, my enemy. He's not my friend anymore. I've got emails from him in the past. He hasn't been nice in his emails. God showed me in my dream he is my enemy. And I've had to block 2 people from that side of the movement that have been my friends for years, or many years. And I've just recently blocked them on Facebook, have nothing to do with them anymore. Instead of arguing with them, just let them go. I still want to just love them. I don't know what else to do. So anyways, I'm just throwing that in there with that verse 36.
Yeah. Well, Satan uses them to try to get us to fail. And then, then when we do fail, we go home or we are home or whatever, and we have this remorse over it. And then that's when Satan really starts playing around with our minds and reminding us of how no good we are. We can never make it. See, God expects too much from you. Come on over to my side. So
Well,
all these things
I don't
give him a
even-
little
but-
edge on us.
no, an act of love, an act of letting go can be an act of love.
Amen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. So,
Can I say the next verse?
yeah.
Okay. And I have consumed them and wounded them that they could not arise. Yea, they are fallen under my feet. I love this because it is such in connection to verse 38, because he pursues them, okay, his enemies, and let's say we're spiritualizing this, so it's the truth that is destroying the enemy, right? And where can we capitalize on that it is that way? Because he says, yea, they are fallen under my feet. And what did we just learn in the verse 37? That the feet is the gospel, that thou hast enlarged my steps under me, so that my feet do not slip. And it's so interesting that he said that they are fallen under my feet. And the feet represents the gospel. So it is the truth that actually that consumes them and basically wounds and destroys them.
I have a question for that.
That's
verse.
what came to my mind.
And you're right about that being under my feet. It's the gospel that does it. But it's interesting because there's a big difference between consumed them and wounded them. Why does he say it that way? I have consumed them and wounded them, but then it says that they could not arise. So I wounded them so they couldn't arise, and I consumed them so they couldn't arise, right?
So we
Why
gotta
does
figure
it
out
say
what
that?
consumed means, because that's an interesting word.
Because consumed means to overtake.
Don't you think that's more than wounded?
Not if it's overtake, because he overtook them, so he caught up to them and encircled them, and then he wounded them. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why you have to learn what consumed means.
Yeah, and
'Cause it
wounded
matters.
has more of a like when I hear the word wounded, it makes me think like it hurt, like whatever just happened hurted. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not just like you attacked, but you actually wounded the person, and therefore there's pain, there's hurt, like you didn't just like, as Sister Adriana already said, that, you overtake, you get to the point where you can actually wound them. So consumed as an overtake, and then wounded actually being doing the damage or the whatever that caused them hurt or pain.
So,
And I should say whatever caused them not to arise.
Says a primitive root to
yeah,
the
thank you.
end.
That's what I was going to read. Yeah, go ahead.
Look at you,
You figured it.
Robert.
It
Go
said
ahead.
to end, to complete, accomplish, cease, consume away, destroy, utterly. Yeah.
The same thing.
And so what is wound? Because wound doesn't do that.
To destroy.
but wounded.
To smite through, shatter, wound severely. Primitive root, to dash asunder.
Oh, wounded.
By implication, to crush, smash, or violently plunge. Figuratively, to subdue
So he's
or
explaining.
destroy.
Yeah, he's explaining how he consumed them. Do you think that is just an expansion on him
By wounding?
consuming?
You
Yeah,
mean
by
by
wounding.
wounding?
Yeah, by giving us an extra. Not only did I consume them, but I wounded them. It's adding power to that consume. That and how he consumed it.
I would think it'd be the
I
other way
don't know.
around, but
I don't know. That kind of comes to my mind when I think. Because, yeah, I know, but I think wounded is more of a powerful word than consumed to me. Because when you say
consumed is over. Wounded is not. You look at the King of the South
I know.
and the King of the North, when he gets a deadly wound, he's not dead, right?
Yeah,
But it is a wound that leads to death.
yeah.
Maybe that's what this is supposed to be saying, that it's a wound that leads to death. It just doesn't say it. I don't know. Well, it does say it. Maybe it does say it. Maybe it's the part that's hidden, because it does say that he wounded them that they could not arise.
Right.
So if you wound somebody that they couldn't arise, then that
You
that's
consume
a
them.
deadly wound.
That means, yeah, that you consume that person.
And they can't come back.
And they can't come back. No. Yeah. Like what you said.
If you watched a couple of the classes, Parmenter was making a point that the writers who wrote this in English had to add words to make these things make sense,
right,
and use different things. So I don't know if this matters, but the Septuagint on that same verse is totally different. And all it says is, and I will crush them, and they shall not rise, and they shall fall under my feet. That's it.
So the wounded them part isn't even there.
Consume isn't in there. Wounded isn't in there.
Wait, say the sentence again.
And I will crush them, and they shall not rise, and they shall fall under my feet.
Well, crush is in the definition of wound, I think. Yeah. Crushing them was in the definition of wound. To smite, through, shatter, wound severely, by implication, to crush.
Well, I mean, it
So
still says
wound
the same
would
thing
actually
to
be
me.
there, but consumed isn't there.
Yeah, so how did consume get in there?
Maybe because it says that because they can't arise again.
I guess.
Like
So you crushed them to the point to where they can't arise.
Yeah.
So therefore they're consumed.
So that whole wounded them and they cannot arise, and it is an expansion of consume, or you can say it the other way around, that wounding them and to the point that they cannot arise is basically consuming them.
I can see that. Because that part of the verse does give it away, where it says that they can't arise.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can't arise, then you did give them a deadly wound. But what was the weapon?
The truth. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I laughed not in spite,
Joyful,
but
I know.
just, yeah.
So the truth, the gospel, crushed them.
Yeah.
The gospel crushed them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we look at Christianity today, does the gospel crush anybody under their feet?
It crushes anybody who does not accept it. So.
Well, I'm looking at I guess I asked the question wrong. The gospel that's being preached today, does it crush anybody?
What do you mean? Who's teaching that gospel?
I'm not talking about necessarily in the movement. I'm talking about, or maybe even in the movement. If you don't have a perfect message, does it crush?
That's what I'm saying. I knew you were going there, but that's why I was saying that.
Because if you don't have the right message, it doesn't
do
the work that it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's why you need enlarged feet, enlarged steps.
Yeah, so that's why I was gonna say, are you talking about a false gospel? But then in my mind, I was like, is there a false gospel? But
By not having enlarged steps.
yeah.
So if you don't have, and look at how many things we've had to unlearn recently.
Yeah.
Has our gospel subdued our enemies under our feet thus far in our walk personally? Has the gospel that you've shared with people consumed anybody under your feet?
No.
I have a thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
So could these verses from 36 to what we have read thus far, 1, 2, 3, 4 verses, if you put them all together, the thought that comes to my mind is that like Jesus, when you're preaching the gospel with such love, tenderness, and gentleness, and the absolute truth, there is no comeback.
Amen.
So just like when Christ was confronted by the lawyers, by the Pharisees, and Jesus answered them in such a way that they couldn't test him anymore. There was nothing else they could say, so they had to walk away. Could these verses mean something like that?
I believe so. I believe so.
That's what I see.
And knowing how to answer when we are challenged, and answering, the right way and responding the right way with his gentleness, with all these things. Because actually, I don't remember if I drew the arrow to link. That's why I zoomed out to link this verse 33 with 40, which might be, I might have just meant to link those two. But we saw in a couple of places in this chapter that we had entire, 5 or 6 verses at a time that start off with, as if you're reading a paragraph where you get you get all the information in the first one, then you get it explained, and then you get a conclusion, right? So I don't know if that was why I marked this arrow. We'd have to like reanalyze all of them, but I know that I was at least lining up verse 33 with verse 40. But yeah, because he would give us, say something, then tell us what he said. I think this is the way Parmenides, you say something, then you say what you said, and explain what you said, and then you give a conclusion to what you said. So it's basically saying the same thing.
Whoa. Sorry.
It's
What?
basically saying the same thing 3 times. Oh, he talks about how writers write and how stories are written, how the Bible is actually written.
Right.
That
You have a beginning,
you have
a middle,
beginning,
and
a middle, and end. Right.
You say what you're gonna
something,
say.
You say what you're gonna say.
You say it.
explain it, and then you repeat it. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, I've heard him say that, and I heard you say that, but for some reason I was like, what?
So
Yeah.
he's telling us that God is my strength and power, and he maketh my way perfect. And then you start looking at the things that he does. He makes my feet like hinds feet, right? He sets me in high places, and that setteth, we went through that word setteth, it's to settle in. He does that. And what are we settled into? He settles us into the truth. Truth is, I don't know if you put that as high places, but he settles us into the truth, right? What would that be? That could actually be going down to here where he enlarges our step, gives us the true gospel message, the pure stream. And so all these things he's doing, and then it seems to be, he summarizes it up for, I don't know if that's the right way, but that for thou hast girded me with strength. So he's giving us this strength for the battle. Here he's our strength, and he has given us this strength.
So yes, Sister Christine, the gospel equals feet. So yes, so they are fallen under the gospel.
Yes, the gospel crushed them.
Yes.
And you could take that word crush and go all the way back to Genesis, right? Couldn't you? Genesis 3:15, right? What does it say?
Oh, crush the tail of his. Are you talking about the
gospel?
Yes.
And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise.
Head.
It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise its heel.
Oh, so it's bruised, not crushed. I know. I understand. I thought.
Yeah, I thought it said crushed you, but it said bruised. I forgot. So,
So,
but anyways, it is the gospel that does it. Because the gospel, and it says that in one of the other verses that the rebuke of the Lord, right? So the gospel comes. The gospel is a rebuke. The gospel is a message of love to those that love God, and it's a message of rebuke to those that hate him. So depending on what side you're on, it's either
a two-edged sword.
Yeah, it's a two-edged sword. Mm-hmm. It's going to it's a two-edged sword. Mm-hmm. It's dividing and cutting into 2 classes. It's the same gospel, and it's dividing and cutting into two classes. Okay, so verse 40. Who wants to read verse 40? Sister Christine.
Okay. For thou hast girded me with strength to battle. Them that rose up against me hast thou subdued under me.
And I link that to the verse of top because it's saying the same thing, isn't it? They've fallen under my feet, and he subdued his enemies underneath him. Those that rose up against him are subdued under him. They're under and if you've got the gospel and you've got enlarged steps, but girded me, looking up the word girded, because you got the word gird also in Ephesians when it comes to the armor of God, and he girds you with a belt to bind, to compass, to gird up. So, for thou has girded me with strength to battle. And remember when we talked about the one with, what was it? Girded me with strength to battle, the arm. What am I thinking of? Maybe somebody remembers the verse. What verse was that? Somebody remember the verse where it talks about the arm? Go back and look through the notes. Nobody remember? Or are you trying to find it?
What are you asking?
There's a verse that talks about the arm. Thou hast girded me with strength to battle. Oh, the bow. That's what I'm thinking of, the bow. Remember the bow?
That's just a couple verses back.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, we're at.
Scroll up on the screen. Hold on. Because they're there, 35. He teacheth my hands to war,
Yeah.
so that the bow of steel is broken mine arms.
And I think when we talked about that last time, somebody brought up, which I think was a good point, that, well, first of all, that steel, when you look steel up, you brought it up, it is brass. Well, I looked it up in the,
Bronze.
at least in, yeah, it's bronze or brass, because they didn't have steel at the time. But somebody brought up the point that it's something that's impossible to break. Is that what you guys said last time?
I Googled it and it said it's like brass because they didn't have steel then. And
Right.
it's something that would be superhuman strength to break something like that.
And that's the kind of strength he's giving us. But that's what, it's the gospel that he gives us that does this. It's the gospel that he gives us. Where is that? Verse 35. He teaches my hands to war. And the hands have to do with your works, right?
Mhm.
Hands have to do with your works, the work you're going to do. But the hand also has to do with the power. You go to Daniel 11:45. Is it 45? Or no, 41, I think it is. But you go to the hand, and it's when you escape the hand, you're in the power of something, where you're going to be in power and have the power of God. But he teaches my hands to war, so that you're able to even break steel or brass, something that's impossible to break. And so this is all tying into the strength that he's giving us. So back down to verse 40. He has girded me, for thou hast girded me with strength to battle. So if he gave me, let's see, he teaches my hands to war, so that you're able to break something that's impossible to break, that he's girding us with strength for the battle. But what is this strength for the battle? I mean, we've been saying it.
Strength of character.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that, but yeah.
Because it's multiple things.
It's multiple things. I was thinking about the gospel when he enlarges our steps so that our feet don't slip, and that's just what one thing. Yeah, it's just one thing, because that's what causes the enemies to fall under our feet, and that's what in this verse, which subdues those that rise up against us underneath us. So this strength, the gospel has that strength, and if we're the living testimony, giving the living testimony, then that strength and that power is in us, and we're able. What did Jesus say? Maybe somebody remembers the verse when he tells the apostles that they're going to be able to do many things more than he did. Does anyone remember where that verse is? Anybody?
I know that the word for ties it to the one in front of it, right?
I think so. Yes. So kind of like because or because of this. Is that right? For
Yeah,
or how?
That's what I always thought.
How? This is how he did it. Or because he did it. Or how?
I thought it was because.
Because. Yeah.
How doesn't?
Because thou hast girded me with, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because thou hast girded me with strength. And that strength is going to be the gospel. It's going to be his gentleness. His gentleness is going to be his character. It's the shield.
It could also be a sense.
Could be a what?
Since, like, since thou hast girded me with, I was able.
Yeah, since, yeah.
Virtue, valor.
For it's him that girds us, and it's him. Let's see, them that rose up against me hast thou. It's him that has subdued them under our feet, under us. But if we're one with Christ, fulfilling the prayer of John 17, we're one with Christ, we're in that number. It is him in us that is doing this. But he can't do this work in us if we all still sit on our own throne. Right? And so I was marking 39 and 40, 40 being a repeat and enlarge. And I think that's what Adriana just pointed out, the word for.
No, not me. Christine.
Oh. I thought you said for, the word for.
I was repeating what she was saying because then you said it, she said it, then you were talking about what it means, and then I added my thing.
Okay.
But she brought it up.
Okay. So 40 is a repeat and enlarge of verse 39. I have consumed them and wounded them that they couldn't arise. They're fallen under my feet because you have girded me with strength. And the strength is his strength. The strength is the gospel. The strength is his character in us. The strength, the power that comes from his grace to walk with him. And just the strength that it takes to, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, we got to let him sit on the throne of our heart. That's what's going to bring us to this place, to have him sitting on the throne of our heart. Now, Ellen White says that the greatest battle we have is the battle with self. And just FYI, for the things that I brought up about Facebook and stuff like that, I have those challenges as well. I think we all do, but I do too. So I speak to myself when I say those things. So it's very hard sometimes not to see some of this stuff and just not laugh in a mocking way, but it's just so shocking what we're seeing. But we shouldn't be shocked. We see it. God is showing us through stories what they're doing and what they're going to do. So now this verse here, I really like this one. Maybe because I could look at it a little bit more closely than some of them, but thou hast given me the necks of mine enemies, that I might destroy them that hate me. And I put it just like it says, A, B, A, B. Because if you look up the word necks, you're going to see when you get the neck, it's symbolizing to destroy. Let me pull that back up if anybody has any comments on that, but it's symbolizing to destroy. That's given me the necks, H6203. The neck, the back of the neck of a fleeing foe of apostasy. I don't know where I got that. It must be H6202 when you continue on. I don't remember, but I know I did. To break the neck of an animal. A primitive root, and this is not the direct word, but going from it. Primitive root, properly to bend downward, but used only as a denominative to break the neck, and figuratively to destroy. That is beheaded, break down, break off, cut off, break, cut off, strike off the neck.
That always got me, and I was so happy when Parminder came out and said it, because we always used to think, Jeff always thought, and we always thought was, oh, it only went up to the neck of the kingdom. Right, so we know it still can survive and live. And I'm like, in reality, though, if you take someone's body away, they're dead.
Yeah.
If they just have a head, you can't have a living head without a body. And you're dead.
Pretty sure breaking the neck, not very many people survive breaking of the neck.
No, it's a destruction. It's you kill them with the necks. You take the neck, that person's dead. So when he said that, I'm like, okay, because sometimes you're like, that doesn't make sense, but you're like, I hope I'm not an apostasy for thinking that. You know what I mean? No, but it's like, it makes logical sense.
I was so. But yeah, it made sense when you're looking in terms of the Soviet Union and Russia being the head of the Soviet Union. It looks right, but
that ended. That was the point, though, is the Soviet Union is dead. What came back is a different type of
different entity.
Yeah. But it's we all thought it. We're like, oh, okay, so that's what I mean. All right, that's what we were. Right. And now it's like.
And it wasn't about the Soviet Union and Russia. It was about the King of the South, and the King of the South was the Soviet Union. And in that sense, the Soviet Union was dead.
It took a lot to even get to the point where we could see that little part of it. It took a lot of understanding King of the South and Russia, and then we finally got to the point of, no, it's not even the USSR. No.
Yeah. So the neck symbolizes destruction, to destroy. So thou hast given me the necks of mine enemies, and his enemies are the ones that hate him.
another thought.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking here just of an animal kingdom. And when you take a look at a horse, a person often guides that horse by the neck, because it feels it on the neck and they know that's the way it's supposed to go. Or say, for example, a cat, it takes a kitten by the neck, and it's again a way, where the kitten is then paralyzed and then the cat ends up taking that kitten somewhere. So in essence, here we see that it's given the necks of mine enemies. And so you can see that it's really entire control is then given to that individual, where that person may do what they want. The other one is just paralyzed.
That's a really good point. That is true. Dogs do that. A lot of animals do that. By the neck, they take you.
Speaking of animals, it makes me want an animal, but sorry.
So he's given us the necks, or he's talking to David, thou hast given me the neck of mine enemies. So the neck is what gives him the ability to destroy those that he hates, right?
The neck, if you have the neck of a person, you have power over that person.
power over
Complete
that person.
power.
I heard the elder Parmenter said it's like as if, or somebody say this in a message that I heard, presentation, that the neck, if you have the neck, you have the head, or something like that. Like
Yeah.
You once
Yes.
you yeah. Who did I hear say that?
Parmenter.
Yeah.
Parmenter, I think. Yeah. Except that what you said about the horse, though, the horse, they're, and I'm not a by no means an expert, but with the horse, it's not so much the neck, it's the mouth, isn't it, that they use to, because it's the bit that they put in the mouth. They put the bit in the mouth, and that's what actually turns them, isn't it?
You're talking about the girdle, the
I was
thing-
just doing a technicality thing, what he said.
Yeah, but I think when someone's actually riding the horse, or even like I don't know.
But the bit is in the mouth, and it's
Yeah.
the
Bit
bit
stop
that's in,
them.
huh?
Bit stops them.
That's not what turns them?
You can just pull their head and turn.
But some people don't ride with those. Some people just ride a horse without that.
Without the bit?
Yes.
So that
And
it
so
is what goes on the neck?
That you hold on to their
Yeah,
necks and their
exactly.
hair, and that's what you
Yeah.
can manipulate.
Okay.
You can't.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about like that, but yeah, like kind of like you talk to the horse. I see them like talk to the horse, like doing little certain, like that. And then, they're trained, and then, some of them do kind of tap on the
So the
horse
answer is
like
it
this.
depends. It depends
Yeah,
on
it
how they're
depends.
trained.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So, but yeah, the animals for sure, they definitely do that. They pick their babies up by their neck. And yeah, because if you're picked up by your neck, you have no control to do anything, right?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, because I've seen somebody when I was at my job, there was a patient who got a hold of one of the staff, and they had her, in a chokehold, and she was like, there was nothing she could really do, at that point. But then, of course, staff intervened and we got her off. But yeah.
If you think about it, though, it's the beasts of prey, right? Beasts of prey. The ones that, like lions and tigers and bears and all these are the ones that take their kittens by the throat to carrying them around. And dogs do too, like wolves and stuff, isn't it?
I'm sorry, I was reading Christine's post.
If you probably also notice, the beasts of prey, when they want to attack maybe an antelope or whatever else, that's also the area that they attack.
Right.
And when they play, that's what they play fight is for the throat.
Yep.
Right.
Everything is for the throat with them.
Well, that's where the jugular is too, right? Does that have anything to do with why they go to the throat?
That is funny.
Your
That's
instinct.
funny.
So, but it's he that gave David the necks of his enemies so that he could destroy them. Once you have the neck, you have them. So this is a faith building experience. It's not just one experience that David had. These are his experiences in his life with the Lord that builds his faith to where he can have come to the place where he has perfect trust in the Lord. And he expresses that in the things that he says. So they looked, but there was none to save. This is his enemies. The enemies looked, but there was none to save. Even unto the Lord. So they even looked to the Lord, but he answered them not. What does that mean? When he doesn't answer them?
Depends.
Depends on what? What does it depend on?
If it's for to test, who's it taught? Where is where? It was not to say even unto the Lord, but he answered them not. You're talking about verse 42?
Yeah, verse 42. So they looked, and there was none to save. They even looked to the Lord. I'm adding words into that. I don't know, maybe we shouldn't do that, but he looked, but there was none to save, even to the Lord. So he looked to the Lord, and the Lord answered him not. So his enemies, because that's what it's talking about.
Yeah. His enemies looked to the Lord.
Right. His enemies looked to the Lord, but he answered them not. So what does it mean when the Lord doesn't answer?
Silent treatment.
Silent treatment.
Does that mean that at one point the Lord did answer them?
Not sure.
Because it was Saul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Saul was some of the enemies.
He had his enemies and Saul. That's how the chapter starts. His enemies and Saul. And there's a reason there's that distinction. But those that hate him, Saul. I think that's how it said it. Did it say that? Let me go back and look real quick. Hang on a second. The beginning of that verse. David spake unto the Lord the words of this song in the day that the Lord had delivered him out of the hands of all his enemies and out of the hand of Saul. So he's kind of seems to be distinguishing that there's enemies and then there's Saul. But God saves him out of both. And so would his enemies and those that hate me, would he be referring to his enemies and Saul? Or is those that hate him the enemies?
No. I didn't follow you on that one, Sister Elaine.
When I take a look at that particular verse, I just see it as, if there is none to save, then I could just see that there's displeasure from the Lord.
I was thinking probation they closed if he's not going to answer him. Is that too simple of an answer? Is that wrong?
That's what I'm thinking.
If he's not going to answer him, if they go
talk to the hand.
Yeah, because they still don't want to hear it. So,
I thought the face don't understand.
Yeah. So they looked, but there was none to save. Well, who's the only one that can save?
Lord.
The Lord, right? So there's no one to save. There's none to save. So there's no salvation for them, even unto the Lord. So they looked to the Lord, and the Lord wouldn't save them. He answers them not. So doesn't that mean that probation's closed now?
I would think so.
At least in that verse. For his enemies.
Yeah.
And it says that, we've just gone through all these passages that talked about what he's girded them up to do, how he pursues his enemies, how he destroys them, how he wounds them so they can't arise, how they're falling under my feet, how he's girded us with strength. And then he says that now they look, there's none to save. Even unto the Lord, it's meaning that they looked even unto the Lord. They looked to the Lord, and the Lord didn't answer them. When is it that he no longer answers their prayers? Close probation. I don't know if that's the extent of that verse, but
I think that's stretched. I mean, that is what happens, but that's not a part of this verse.
You don't think so?
Which one?
42.
They looked, but there was none to save. Right, we know what that is, but I'm not saying. Okay.
What does it mean when he doesn't answer you?
Well, yeah, that's it.
I got a question. When we consider a person such as Balaam, we recognize him as a false prophet, and yet the Lord spoke, even though he was a false prophet, the Lord still spoke through him. How do we look at that? Was his probation not closed?
It wasn't. It was, Balaam didn't have a choice in the matter, if you remember. He didn't like God's people, but he had no choice but to give a good report because that's what God charged him to do. But afterwards, Balaam didn't like them, and he still tried to destroy them. It was just like God using a donkey. I don't want to make him a donkey, but I mean.
What do you mean? Make who a donkey? God did speak through a donkey.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Who are you not making a donkey?
So
Not the donkey, the man.
You made a donkey out of Balaam.
But yeah, because it's not like, Balaam wanted to do what God wanted him.
No problem.
God didn't, Balaam wasn't seeking the Lord's will. He was going to go be a prophet for hire. He knew what his job was to do. And God said, no, you're going to say what I'm going to tell you to say. And he's like, nope. And he's like, yes, you will. It wasn't like, oh, yes, okay, I totally understand. I'll do everything you say. It's not what happened from what I can understand. It's like, whether I like it or not, this is what I have to do this. It's not, I was talking to someone in Cottonwood about this. Was it Kathy? I don't remember who, but I was talking to someone about this over there. It's not, ultimately, he still didn't, he didn't like them at the beginning, and at the end, he still didn't like God's people. It wasn't like he was converted. It was just like God using Pharaoh.
That's the exact point. That was the exact example I was going to bring up, because it says that haughty tyrant, what did he say? I'm trying to remember how he says it. But anyway, the implication is, or it's spirit prophecy that says it, that God spared or kept him alive or something along those lines for his purpose. In other words, he should have been dead for his crimes. I can't remember how it says it, but he should have been dead for his crimes, but God saved him alive just for this purpose. So in other words, she's implying his probation was closed, but he's going to be used for a purpose. So maybe that's similar to Balaam, but it was kind of a different purpose than who he was in the.
Do you think Trump is going to change? Is he?
I think he's that haughty tyrant.
Yeah.
That's spoken of in prophecy.
But God is going to use him.
Or patriarchs.
For the end of this earth. He has to do his work.
I think about that too, because he's 77 years old and apparently got quite a bad diet.
Whoa, who is 77?
Yeah, 70 something. I said 70 something. Isn't he like 72 or 73?
I swear you said 77.
No, 70 something. And then he's got a horrible diet, and I'm thinking he wants to be king forever.
I thought he was 50. That's why I'm shocked 70 anything.
50?
Oh no.
I can't tell, but I can't.
You must think I'm 20 then, because I don't look like that.
Are you talking about Trump?
No.
Yeah, she thought he was 50.
Trump was 70 when he got inaugurated, so he should be 74. Huh?
Yeah. I've seen 50-year-olds that look like that. What are you talking about?
And this isn't laughing and mocking at the
yes,
Trump.
It is. It's laughing and mocking at Adriana.
Because I'm looking at her, she thought he was 50, then well, how young do you think I am?
Does that matter?
No,
it doesn't.
Me. No, it doesn't. I'm just kidding. But no, he was 70 something, and this always went through my mind. If he's 73, 70, something like that, and not to say that we can't live to be 100, and some live over to be 100, but apparently has a really poor diet, and that always strikes me when I read that verse or that passage in Patriarchs and Prophets about the haughty tyrant, because I'm thinking he's saying 4 more years, and he'd like to just go on beyond that, and I'm thinking, how long could he actually live? And I thought, God's in control. It totally, to me, I just realized God's in control. He's sparing this man his health for just this purpose. That's the only point I was trying to make out of it. But yeah, he's 70 something. And because you can't live that kind of lifestyle and just go on the way that he does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's probably time to close. And then so when we get back, we'll try to finish this next week. And there's just a few more verses, but it gets to the next part where it talks about God's people. So I think this is where you start to get into the distinction of his enemies and Saul. So just a thought. He was 70 when he was inaugurated. Any comments or questions as we, yeah, he's 74. So if he went another 4 years, that's 78. And I know at 58, man, I don't have the energy I used to have. I don't know how he goes it. I don't go to McDonald's.
I remember
and I don't go to KFC.
I remember my grandma at his age, and she looked a lot worse than he does. So I'm gauging it off of the things
That's
that I've
okay.
seen, and I'm not.
Well, she wasn't the president to have how many doctors around her and some other people with makeup.
Well, you can't.
Some
Well,
people
you
age
can't.
different.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that you can't do that because there are some people who are 90 years old who still look 78. So it's all about them genes and how you.
Yeah.
It's all about the genes, really.
Yeah.
Because you can't even say diet too much. But yeah, it's all about a person's genes.
He goes on energy drinks. So.
And so
Yeah, and those are so bad. Do you want to mark that if you have a pen? To February 8th. Okay.
No.
And if I may say something, that all those people who are like the TV stars, movie stars, all those people that come on screen, they all have makeup before they come out. So I'm sure he is probably made look better than he actually is.
My grandmother had 20 pregnancies, went through the war and all that kind of stuff. How do you expect her to look?
20?
Yeah.
Wow. 20 pregnancies? Yeah, perfect.
a lot of
She
miscarriages.
lost
12.
Wow. Wow.
some other kids died of typhus.
And yeah, we know they do a lot of makeup, but you know, a lot of us have watched some of those documentaries of him when he was a lot younger. I noticed even with Obama, you can see they really age as a president. I saw it in Obama a lot.
Well, it's
a job that
been lots of years.
No,
in 8 years.
No,
Yeah.
Obama aged because he's stressed because he cared about his job.
I think
Trump
so,
looks
too.
the same. He
Yeah.
looks like someone froze his face and solid. I don't know, whatever they do to, it hasn't seemed like it changed too much. There was that weird moment where they tried to change his hairstyle. That lasted a week and it went back to normal. But it's just like he's you have to think about it. He is a TV guy. He knows TV image. And what your face looks is everything.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing with Botox too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was written in the, go ahead, Robert.
I said, Trump's not really stressing. He's having fun.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's loving his job.
Well, actually, I think he does stress. In reading the book, he does stress because they talk about the rampages that he goes on with stuff that's going on, the things that they see in the White House behind the scenes that we don't ever see. That he's that he's totally stressed and worried. But no, I remember noticing that Obama, if you look at a picture of Obama, yes, it was 8 years, but if you look at a picture of Obama before and then after, he really looks like
It looks like 20
It's
years.
true.
Yeah,
I
it
heard
looks like 20
heard
years.
someone say that too. I think even his wife Michelle Obama said it. That
Because it does wear on you.
aged.
It's got to wear on you to do that.
I think
job.
he said it himself, really, in
So
one of his speeches.
He would wake up extra early in the morning, start his day super early, go late at night with a briefing binder, a huge old thing, and try to learn that before he went into work. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you look at how they explain how Obama worked in the White House and how Trump works in the White House.
They said sometimes he doesn't come down till 10, 11, 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's up
And
there
he
watching
still has
TV.
time to look at shows.
Well, that's what he's up there doing, is watching TV and using Twitter. So that's what a lot of stuff it says in the book. But yeah, my only thing was that if he's 70 years old, 74 now, years old, and wants to go another 4 years, that's 78. You know, I looking at that haughty tyrant in Patriarchs and Prophets and keeping him alive because, like I said, he doesn't have a healthy lifestyle at all. So, and stress will wear you out faster. So to me, he's a miracle that he's still alive. And only God could do that. That was the point that I was trying to make. But anyway, so it may not be 4 more years. Next year's Pam. What are you trying to say?
Yeah, what I'm saying is, okay, sure, he can get reelected for 4 years, but we have 1 year till Panium. Final events are rapid. A lot can happen in a year or two after that. It may not be a solid year, a solid 4 years of his last 4 years of. He is the last president. We understand, but a lot can happen in a year or a year and a half or two, right? It may not be 4 years of his term to bring in the second coming of Christ. That's all I'm saying. I don't know when Christ is returning.
Yeah, but you have to Panium, then from Panium to Sunday Law, then from Sunday Law to close of probation, and even from there on, it's still a bunch of stuff. Because we need time to get the message to everyone and to have people, accept the message.
Well, looking at,
Yeah,
I think it was in our previous, it was in Acts of the Apostles this morning when the Holy Ghost comes upon people, and how there's people that are God-believing people, God-fearing people that don't know everything, and then God is just going to bring us to them, right? And the Holy Spirit is working on them, and He works with us, giving the message, and they become believers. That can happen very fast.
yeah, exactly.
Very fast.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
So Elder Parminder, I can't remember which presentation it was, he says that the Levites have to know everything that we know, and the Nethinims have to know everything that we know. So everybody has to know everything.
Yes.
All of it.
It's not just that you have to. They have to learn a bunch.
So if that's the case, I mean, what is everything? This movement is since 1989, starting with the Time of the End magazine. What is everything?
I'm with you there, Brother Phil. But you're right about going all the way back to 1989. Somebody else pointed that out last week. Might have been Adriana. I don't remember. Somebody pointed that out last week. But
when we were driving back and we watched that,
that's right.
I'm like, that means everything. Everything means everything. So we have to go back, and everything that we ever learned that brought us out, minus the twisted things, now that we have clarification on, we have to know everything. And they have to know everything. We have to teach them everything.
And if you think about it, with the what we did earlier in the Guadalupe study, that about the threading the needle, that's probably a good part of it. Maybe it's more in a simplified form. I don't know about all the details. I don't know about that. But if you see the threading of the needle, that in itself, and she said that in that study, in the study just a little bit ago, that if, when you show them that, they can get it. It was talking about those that think that Trump is Hitler, and those that think that Trump is Cyrus. If you just show them the lines, you show them the threads, they can get it. So that may have something to do with it too.
But if they have to learn everything down here, who and what are we going to be teaching in heaven for only God knows how long?
Yes, it's something about, something just doesn't make
no way they can learn everything.
Well, do we have the time to teach them everything?
There's certain very important things that we have to teach them, and we learned some of the main things. Now I heard of somebody else in this movement, I don't know who it was, says, no, the Nephilims and the Levites won't have to know quite as much as we know. We need more because we have to teach them. But
everyone thought that. But if you watch the new videos that just came out in Uganda with Elder Tess, the Temptations in the Wilderness video, that's the one you have to watch.
Yeah, he said that you have to know everything.
Yeah.
They have to know everything. Everything we know, they have to know.
But I think that what Brother Renee is asking about, what are we going to be teaching them? They aren't going to have the time, if I understand correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, they aren't going to have the time to overcome many things that we have had time to overcome.
Again, in Temptation in the Wilderness, all the reforms, they have to learn everything.
They have to learn everything. So what are we teaching them? Because
that's what I've been saying.
Because she specifically,
Elaine, 30 years, we've been through periods, years when we had the wrong information. So now that we are perfecting all this stuff, we're going to know one thing
right,
that we should have known from the beginning.
Right.
So it's not gonna be that much probably.
Well, no, because they're not gonna have 30 years of going through the sideways here and
Yeah,
sideways there and have to unlearn it and all that. But she does specifically say that the training that the 144,000 are receiving it specifically because you're going to be teaching the Nethinim.
That's what I was trying to tell you.
Sorry, I didn't
time.
understand that when you said it.
That's why I was getting frustrated, because you're like, no, we haven't, and I don't think you were getting it. I'm like, I remember what she said.
So
she said it multiple
things.
I don't know. That's why I was so confused.
What is going on? What are you saying?
Have you seen the Temptations?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about what are you going back
Remember how in the Temptations of the Wilderness, she says, no, all the reforms, everything, they all have to learn everything we know. She said many times before that people are going to be in heaven looking for their meat and their drums, and we're going to, do you understand what I'm saying? Because in Temptation in the Wilderness, she says they have to know about reforms and everything.
Well, is there a difference between teaching them everything
And you have to know that, they have to know that all in the time of Trump? I mean, they've got to be fast forwarding on high speed to do that, because Trump only got 4 more years after he gets elected.
Next year.
Do you think that there's a difference in them having to know everything and them being ready to do everything? Now wait a second. What she did say is there's going to be people that didn't know anything that wake up in heaven. Right?
Well,
is that what she
I'm
said?
going to ask you after, because this is.
That's true.
You can ask it now.
No, I don't want to ask it right now.
We don't know, Anna. We don't have that answer yet because we're all still.
There's has to be clarification on this, because the moment I heard it, I knew this was a little confusing at first. And I know, and I'm fine. I know the more we go on, God's going to clear it up, because that's what happened with every other message.
Clears everything up.
So I'm thankful for the information she did bring out in that, and Parminder, because I've been able to implement it. It's been really helpful, and it's great. Like everything God always did. So I know he's going to clear it up.
Right.
But there's confusion.
Anna asks, does that mean we have to know everything as a new person in this movement? That those who have been in this movement for 30 years? That's a good question.
I kind of semi-responded to her on that. Yes, and that's what we're working out. But keep in mind that in those 30 years, first of all, none of us sitting in this room, and I don't think anybody online was here for 30 years. But second of all, we took a lot of detours along the way. One thing that kept us always going, though, is our desire to know the truth. And so when you have a desire to know the truth, you keep going forward, but that also means it brings you face to face with your error. This error, that error, this mistake, this thing that has to be unlearned, that thing has to be unlearned. So when the new people come in, they don't have to unlearn the stuff that we've learned in this movement that was wrong.
There was a lot we had to go through just to understand, to get over being overly conservative and judgmental of other people.
Right.
Which they don't have that. We had to spend time just to understand that. And so and she keeps saying this, the conservatives are totally already out of the way. It's the liberals we're going to try to win back.
Right.
And they already have an understanding of equality. We have to show them the perfection of that, what it all looks like and where it came from, which is what I always knew we were going to do. I didn't realize that there were people, because I was confused. I didn't understand what she meant. The message we give them is an external one. I didn't realize that meant there's no God in that message, which never makes any sense. I don't know who has been telling people that we're not going to give them a message about God. Eventually, what is our purpose then?
Eventually they have to.
Why are you going to tell them about equality if they apparently already know equality? There's no message for them. I always thought, I'm like, we have to connect them with where these ideas came from and show them that this is in the Bible. I thought that was the whole point.
And the external events are preparing them to hear it easily.
Yeah, so I don't know how, but there's, the things that are confusing, I think they'll get cleared up.
They'll get cleared up.
Yeah.
And we've seen that those of us who've been around for a little while have seen that the answers come as we go along. And if you just, by faith, follow on, that the questions all get cleared up in time. And I believe that's for a purpose. It's to test our faith. He puts us in positions of not having clarity on something for a specific reason, so that he can test our faith. Will we continue to go on and wait and have the patience for it to be cleared up?
Yeah. So did you like the liberty gospel because it let you do what you wanted, or did you like it because it was a beautiful thing that God showed that there's freedom
Right.
for people?
Right.
Did you like it for the right reasons?
Right. So I definitely got to close up. So definitely we have questions. We seem to end our Bible studies with questions instead of answers, right? But that's a good thing because it brings us back to look at the answers and have more questions again. And that is exactly how he's led me always. Every time he gave me a question, I had a question, he gave me an answer. Every answer led to another question.
If we're going to be studying this for eternity, we better keep having questions.
That's right. That's right. So do you want to close in prayer?
Yeah. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for that really lively study we were able to have, even though we had glitches along the way. Lord, inevitably you took care of us as you always do, and we were able to have a really good discussion and talk about really important things and learn important lessons about jesting and frivolous joking and humor when it's not necessary. Lord, help us to implement this in our lives. And we know you still want us to be happy and joyful, but there's certain situations where we need to have the right character on us, Lord. We also thank you for the messages that have come out recently. Help them to be cleared up and help us to understand what we need to learn in this dispensation to be ready, Lord, because it's those souls that matter that we're going to go give the message to, and we have to be ready for them. Help us, Lord, strengthen us, guide us to the right information that we need. Help everything to come together in a clear, concise message. Help it to be codified as it was on the charts in the Millerites' time, Lord, so that we can have a clear, beautiful, ready-to-go message to give to the people to draw them to you and enlarge your kingdom. We thank you for the fellowship we had all day today. It was a beautiful day, and it was beautiful to be able to talk with everyone and commune. We ask that we have more of this every single day and to draw closer with you every moment that we possibly can. Help us, Lord, to have the right intentions in our hearts always, and to never lose sight of our goal and where we're headed, and so that we can endure any trial that we experience. Help us not to murmur and to be joyful in everything that we must endure. We thank you for the Sabbath day. We pray for driving mercies for everyone that has to drive a far distance. Take care of them and keep them safe, Lord, and be with us this week until we meet again next Sabbath. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Before everyone goes, so Sister Adriana, what time did you set for the Monday thing? Is it best for like